Hello, this is the LEGO Star Wars TIE Fighter and X-Wing mashup set. I bought this for $110 US, comes together as one single set, and built the 1,063 pieces live over on Twitch. This comes with 5 minifigures if you include the funky looking McDonald's astromech droid. And the reason that the astromech droid is funky looking is that this is ultimately derived from the Rebuild the Galaxy kind of parody what if alternate non-canon LEGO series coming up, little animated series. But of course, these are based on real original trilogy craft, and we'll look at the figures closer later. At first glance, to me, the X-Wing looks actually really good. I'm probably not the proper or best person to critique an X-Wing toy because I've been looking at X-Wing toys and collectibles my entire life. I mean, decades. And I'm probably more forgiving of different proportions, like those classic Kenner ones. Originally, had some really weird proportions, just like the early Lego ones have had weird proportions. So I'm probably more forgiving than I ought to be. But overall, this just feels like it hits the right notes for me in its overall look. The amount of red that's on here, the overall shaping, all the important things sit right with me. And it does do some things better than especially the last smaller scale play scale one, because this does have the tapered nose, just that very subtle, light taper to the sides, but it also has the angled cross section, the almost kind of squished hex cross section to it, which you don't see that much until you get up to the very high end. And it's nice to see. And it was easily implemented. It's not like it's not like it used a ton of pieces to make that happen. So I'm happy with that. It's unfortunate that we don't get diverters in the inlets right here. Even an attempt would have been nice, even just something small. This does rely on some stickers, and those stickers do show off just how not white, I will say, the Lego white color is these days, because the sticker is more of a proper white, and then the Lego colors is clearly darker and yellower than that. Feels like it's shifted a little bit over time. I actually like how the laser cannons are done. They're simple but effective, and they don't fall off easily. Like this is not ready to break during play. You got the spring-loaded shooters underneath there, which you can easily remove if you don't like the look of them. As usual, I mean, they're clearly not integrated in. The back of the engines look pretty good. This is nice shaping. Uses one sticker there, just a little bit of greebling, but I like the use of the mech body piece there. So you can open this up. It's actually hinged, and just pretend that you're doing some maintenance, or you can have it up for a hanger kind of diorama scene. There's also a little bit of actual greebling along the top, but no storage. There's no hidden storage in the back from the top or in the front here. You just have the astromech bay, and I'll go ahead and grab the McDonald's astromech. And it's not an official name, but I'm going to keep calling it that and put it there. So you can see it sticks up a little bit too much, but not too much, not too much. I'd say maybe two plates at the most lower would be good. You can easily make it go down a half a plate or so by taking a layer out from under there, but it would take a little bit of modification to get it down farther. It's not too bad, but I do wish it was slightly lower. And then for the cockpit, obviously you have the fully printed cockpit piece. A little bit of suggestion of trying to continue the taper as viewed from the side here with the tiering of these plates and tiles. One more sticker on top. Printed console piece there, and then no actual physical controls for the character to hold on to, for the pilot to hold on to. Obviously, this does have the landing gear there, and you can make those. Let me get the camera. I'm doing the work of several people here. Let me get the camera stopped, and then you can fold this forward, fold these back. And that's your in-flight mode with the S-foils locked closed. But then when you open the S-foils, this is using a simpler method of just the classic hinges. That's simple, easy, reliable, no fuss. The only thing that's bad about it is that the engines, if anything, the engines move closer to one another rather than farther apart. You want them to be farther apart. It doesn't look so bad from the back, but you can kind of see the angles. You expect this to be more down here, right? You expect this intersection points to open up and to spread out. But from the front, if you notice it, you notice it. If it doesn't bug you, great. But if it does bug you, it's going to be very difficult for it to stop bugging you. I understand how that goes. To me, it's completely forgivable, especially given the compromises to keep this smaller, simpler, and easy to remove these wings to swap them with the TIE Fighter. But yeah, I completely understand for folks who cannot get over this. Yeah, I get that. But as a toy, this works. I think as a display piece, it works okay too, but a little bit of modifications could help with that. But the main reason that they had a compromise there was to keep this durable, consistent, and easy to use, but then to also have the feature where you can just pull these pins out, one on this side, one on this side, and then take all of this off to use those wings for the transformation and, you know, swapping back and forth to make the ugly. The ugly, of course, is going to be a combination with this TIE Fighter. Now, this is very similar to the last one, the last, you know, scaled down play scale one that they did. But I personally think that its proportions look just a little bit better because that last one looks more like a Rebels one, where the wings or the solar panels, the radiators were downsized, but you still had a pretty large size fuselage ball. I feel like this one's fuselage ball feels a little bit more sleek. I like the transitions in there. It actually doesn't bug me as much as I thought from the pictures, just how you switch from a very, very smooth front to the relatively vertical surfaces right here. I like the alternation between the light gray and the dark gray. Helps to kind of visually dither in the transition there. I don't know, it just doesn't look as bad as I thought. You cannot see through the canopy, so you put a figure in there, and this is blocked behind here, which that's another thing that just personally doesn't bug me. I'm not trying to give this any special grace. I look at this, I don't expect to see the face of a TIE Fighter pilot because TIE Fighter pilots, they're black. So black inside of a fully shaded interior of a thing, I'm not going to see it, especially these are always tinted. So yeah, that's just something that I can't get mad about personally as someone who's a fan of these things. Anybody who does get mad about it is fine. I can completely understand why you would always want to be able to see through there, especially after being used to it all the time. But yeah, it's just not something I'm going to ding it massively for. Stickers on the top is unfortunate. We're used to the nice round piece, printed piece on the top, but this is really convenient to get into. And again, some compromises were made for the sake of the wing swap feature. This has stickers also for the twin ion engines. It's nice to see the twin ion engines back there. And the shaping around the back doesn't look too bad to me. Once again, you have spring-loaded shooters, and they've got a little bit of the compromise between the color of the bolts that come out from these versus the color of the the tips of the laser cannons themselves, which always glow red, which has always been a point of contention. Should those be red or should they be green? They should shoot green, but they should glow red. So the only way to do it properly is to have dual molded spring-loaded shooter bolts, which they don't have. So here they've just given us both. And then once again, pin and then Technic pin right there to align this. And that's how you take the wings off this. Really easy as well. This is nice and simple, but these wings though, what the heck? This was like bags and bags of parts for each of these solar panel radiator things. So many parts go into this. It didn't make any sense to me. When I was building this live over on Twitch, I just kept saying, "What? How are there so many pieces?" And it's a lot of pieces. But ultimately, it's nice to get a fully brick-built thing. It's similar, again, to the last ones, but it just really surprised me how much goes into something so simple these days. And it's not like they used a ton of little pieces. There are some small pieces, but not a lot. It's not like it's trying to be wasteful. It actually tries to be kind of minimal to get the shape, but it's a genuine, fully shaped up build with only just the print. Thankfully, that's a print used for the center. Otherwise, all the color blocking and everything is done with pieces. Now, when you combine these things, you can either do one or two. So first I'll do just one, get the alignment in there. Usually, I must be doing something weird because usually this slides right in. It's just one single pin. What am I doing? There we go. One single pin. Let me grab this from the other side just so you can see the maximally ugly kind of look. Like that, so it's asymmetrical. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought. The color needs to be changed somewhere here, but I can almost see this being a Star Wars thing. This should be just one wing. Maybe I'll pull one of those wings off and it'll look a little bit more appropriate. But ultimately you can go all the way, get really silly with it, and stick this on there. And you also have the spring-loaded shooters pulled over, so you're from the original, from the other thing, so you're still able to shoot, still able to fire with this. Of course, you should put the pins in. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't need to. And I was very worried about this from looking at the pictures. I was very worried that it would not be able to stand up on its own. Thankfully, it does. It's not too front heavy, so this is successful. I think it looks kind of terrible, but it's not supposed to look pretty, so I will accept it as a success for what they were going for. But you take this, you put these wings here. Let's get rid of that. You put these wings here. Now this works. That works for me with them closed up. It's like a different way of doing a B wing. And you open them up. Now you don't have to worry about the accuracy of the engines, the inlet placement. That also looks good. Ooh. Reminds me of something maybe from Wing Commander or Babylon 5, you know? I genuinely like this. Wow, with the extensions of the barrels too? Let's do a little bit of recoloring, and it's pretty cool. And with these closed, this does have the struts here, the landing struts. This is another thing I was worried about. Will this actually stand up? And the answer is somehow Palpatine returned, and this stands up on its own. I'll be darned. Designers actually know what they're doing sometimes. Ha! It's rear heavy. It's rear heavy a bit. But I'm pushing it, and it's still not going past. It probably puts a little bit of stress on the elements there. But, I mean, it does work. It does work. Give it a little earthquake action. See? It's staying. It's just leaning back a little bit, but ultimately it does work. So I can have that working, and I can have this working as well. And that's success for the set's concept. Here are the pilots and the astromech. Officially, this is just Rebel Pilot. Doesn't have any particular name. The astromech is not officially McDonald's themed. It's Lego themed, supposedly. L3GO Lego, you get it. And you got some of that color scheme brought into the helmet over here as well. I did not do research to see if there's a helmet that actually uses that color scheme, nor did I check to see if there's an astromech that uses that color scheme. TIE Fighter pilot over there, also unnamed officially, but these are perfectly fine figures, I think, perfectly fine generic figures. The astromech is always going to stand out. That one's going to have a little bit of trouble blending in, I think, with a more serious collection. But if you like astromechs and you like different, hey, this definitely delivers on that. Too bad no alternate face for the TIE pilot, but with the way these helmets were designed, unfortunately, it just shows so much around the back. It easily shows a mouth if you did have an alternate face. I wish they would go back to bringing us some well done balaclava heads, so you get the best of both worlds. Skin tone, face, and no skin tone from around the back. These hero figures are Sig Greebling, Sig like Sig Fig, like signature figure, Greebling like Greebling, and Yesy Scala, like yes, that Scala, with the gaffy stick there. I'm assuming this is supposed to be a Jedi holocron. These are new characters for the Rebuild the Galaxy series, you know, and world and version of canon, which is non-canon. And so I can't really say much about them because they're completely made up by Lego. They can do whatever they want with them. I think that as figures, they look perfectly fine. If you don't care about that universe, just use them as random generic rebels who are kind of out of uniform. Or I think they actually look better as Resistance members, personally. But yep, it's too bad that the alternate face here doesn't have the goggles on. But I guess that would have been weird to have the goggles around the neck and then on the face as well. But you know, dual faces for each, so that's fine. These are the spare and leftover pieces. It's interesting that these longer bars are considered spares now, or qualify as 1x1s or things that need to get spares. And this is the sticker sheet. Most of these went on to the X-Wing. Again, I paid $110 US for this whole set. It's 110 euros, 95 pounds UK, or $140 Canadian, or it's 1,063 pieces, was it? Which, incidentally, this is too perfect. As of the day of the recording of this video, that is almost exactly to the penny the value of the last PlayScale X-Wing and TIE Fighter sold separately in 2021. simply adjusted for inflation, almost to the penny, which I need to make some sort of sarcasm filter on screen that you can see, but how very typical Lego scummy corporate greed is that they have brought out another product that's an update to an existing one, or in this case, an existing pair, for the same real price as the last one. How scummy is that of them? And this one has more than 150 more pieces. This is typical Lego. More parts, same price, same real price. Ridiculous. All right, sarcasm off. It really is basically the same thing. The worst thing between these two is definitely the fact that the engines don't separate out here when the S-foils open up. The switching gimmick doesn't honestly have that much value to me when I look at this, with the exception of the fact that putting the X-wings onto the TIE fuselage looks interesting. Hopefully it gets some more kids thinking in a creative way, since, like I said, far too few do so these days. Far too few customize their Lego, and it varies by culture, certainly, but a lot of kids will just build, and adults alike will just build and use as is and never take apart, never do anything with. And this encourages the play pattern, or the ownership pattern of doing something different, of trying something different. So I have to applaud that effort, even though I think in this case, it really doesn't add that much. Unless they continue this system and they do it for more starships in the future, starfighters in the future, in the near future at that. Lego has a bad tendency, or a bad habit, of creating new systems, new small systems like this, and then abandoning them very quickly, which is unfortunate. But if they can do more like this that are compatible, that will be really, really interesting, especially keeping it at the play scale like this, and especially if they do some individuals also. It's important to start with a pair so that you actually get some value out of that. But if they do more in the future, yeah. But otherwise, I do like the shaping of this better. And for some reason, I like this better, even though it has almost the exact same wings as the last one. And the fuselage, well, looking back at the pictures, the fuselage isn't actually really smaller. It just looks smaller, I guess, because of the smaller canopy window piece there. The figures are what they are. The figures are nothing special to me, especially you've got figures that are specific to a parody spin-off non-canonical thing, but the funky astromech is a fun thing. All in all, yeah, values this the same as last time, which was better than before because they shrunk down. I'm glad that they're sticking with the shrinking down. I hope that they do continue that, because I'm seeing some hints that they might reverse that. You look at some of the stuff that they've done for City this year, and they've got some things that have gone huge again, unnecessarily so. Hopefully we can keep things within a reasonable range. We're looking at $55 US for each of these with some figures, which is equivalent to 4 or 5 years ago, $50 each. I don't want things of this size to be any more expensive than that. I really, really don't. Hopefully we can keep it in this range as long as possible. Incidentally, it's also very, very close. Like $55 is very, very close, within $1, I think, to the price of the original X-Wing from 1999 that had like a quarter as many pieces when simply adjusted for inflation. So yeah, keep that up. That works for me. Not an amazing set, not a must buy, but perfectly fine for what it is. Overall, I'm happy with it. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon.